Welcome to today's session. In today's session, our main agenda is to learn about the object-oriented programming and inheritance, polymorphism, something learn about the objects and the class. So let's discuss about the programming first. So programming is the line of commands or line of code by which we execute some instructions in our laptop or in our device. So there are two methodologies of programming. First methodology is procedural of oriented programming, also known as POP. Second methodology of the program is object-oriented programming, known as the OOPS also. So if we say that the procedural-oriented programming language is available previously, then why we invent new methodology of the programming language known as object-oriented programming language? So the question is very good, and the answer is that there are few drawbacks of the procedural-oriented programming language. Let's get deep dive into that drawback. So first drawback is that we cannot combine the codes. If we define the function in the above of the line of the code in the procedural programming language, we cannot define that same function in another line of code in that same programming or the same file. The second thing is that our code can't be reusable. We cannot use the single block of code again in our programming language code, which means the reusability will not available in the procedural oriented programming language, which increase the space and the time complexity of our procedural oriented programming language. The third thing is that the modifiers are not available, or we can't access the modifiers in the procedural programming language, which make it less secure. Okay, so let's read that what's the difference between the object oriented programming language and the procedural programming language. So in programming language, our approach is bottom to up. Okay, so which means we can firstly define the classes, or our hierarchy is going from the descending to ascending order. Okay, means we can go from down to up. In procedural oriented programming language, our methodology or our approach is from the top to bottom or top to down. Okay, the second thing is that our in or object oriented programming languages, our programming is divided into different objects, and by the help of that object we can use that object or the class in the different function, which can increase the reusability of the class. In same in If you are talking about the procedural oriented programming language, program is divided into functions. The third thing is that if we can use the access modifiers in the public, private, protected, these are the modifiers which can be available in the oriented programming language, but we can't access that thing in the procedural programming language. The third thing is that by the help of modifier we can protect our objects. So the object oriented programming language are the most secure. And if I am talking about the procedural programming language, so procedural programming language are the less secure. Okay, now let's discuss that the object can freely move in the object oriented programming language, but object can't be freely moved in the procedural programming language, which I say earlier that we cannot combine the functions in the procedural programming language. The third and the main thing which makes the object oriented programming language give it advantage a step ahead, that the it support inheritance, which means we can use the properties of the another class in different class. We can get the inherit the properties from the one class to another class, which will be not supported in the procedural programming language. Now let's discuss that what is the object oriented programming language. So there are the two bricks for the object oriented programming language. The first brick is object and the second brick is class. Okay, so let's discuss that what is the class. So you can say the class is the collection of the objects, which means in a single class we can decide or define the behavior, we can define the patterns, we can define, you can say that attributes, and then we can use that attribute in the specific class, or we can define many objects in that same class. Let's discuss read the definition here. So what's the definition? Says a definition says that class is the collection of object, as I say, or you can say that it is the blueprint of an object defining the common attributes and the behavior, or you can say that the properties which we have to use. The second and the main thing is that class doesn't carry any doesn't have any own data set, means class doesn't carry any data, it only have their blueprint of the objects which define the some behavior, attributes, or the properties. The data will be carried by the objects. Okay, or we can say the data sets is available in the object. Now let's discuss the what is the syntax here. I can't use the id here because in the single lecture we have to define the inheritance, polymorphism and the object and classes. So if I'm going in the id and doing the code, that will be make it the lecture very large, about the 40-50 minutes, and we have to combine all the things in 20 to 25 minutes. So we read all the syntax and the all code here, and I will explain all the codes here, and in the further videos we will discuss about the code, and we will do all the things in id practically. Thank you. So the thing is that what's the syntax here about for the classes. So for the classes, the syntax is that we can use the class, which is the class, and here class one is the name. We can use any name here: Rajesh, Suresh, Mahesh, or car, ball, bottom, anything which is available. We can use that class name here, and then these brackets, and then this semicolons. So this is the syntax by which we can define the class here. Okay. The second thing is that after defining that, we can define the objects here, or the syntax of the object is we can use the obj1 object. I will just giving the syntax: obj1 object is equal to, then we will define that how the that object will be related to the class. If that obj1 is related to the class 1, suppose there is the class 1, then we can say the object obj1 is equal to class 1. Then whatever we want to taken from the properties taken from the class, we will use that property in the object. Let's take an example. Let's watch the example here. So in that example, we can see that class employee is we will create we created the class employees. In that class employees, firstly we define the constructor. So as I say, if we doesn't write this thing def init and then the variables which we use, if we doesn't write it, the default constructor is used in every class. The IDE or the programming language make a default constructor which is similar as the def in it, but after that def in it will be writing a self, that will be the default constructor. So why we, if the programming language give us the default constructor, so why we write constructors our own self? So we write the constructor our own self, because if we set the default constructor, we have to print all the things again and again for the different objects. That make it very hectic. Okay. So we define the constructor here. As I say, we create the functions like salary, id, age, name, and self is the default constructor, as I say. Okay. So here we can do that thing. Then what we do here, we add the different properties, like a self name is equal to name of the employee, self age is equal to age of the employee, self salary equal to salary of the employee, self id equal to id of the employee. Then here we define the objects. Employee 1 is the object 1, employee 2 is the object 2. Okay. Now in that thing we give the data here. Okay. Means in the class function we only define the properties or the attribute, we only give the attributes, we doesn't give the data there. We give the data in the objects. Firstly we define the object, that employee 1 is the one of object number 1, and then I call the class employees. In that class, as I give the function here self, name, age, id. So in that name, the name is Harshit, age is 22, salary id is 1000, and salary is 12 1234. Okay. Same I will do for the employee number 2, whose name is Arjun. Then I will print the dictionary of the employee number 1, that will give me the all the details of the employee number 1. Means the employee's name is Harshit, employee's age is 22, employee's id is 1000, and employee's salary is 1234 rupees. So that's the thing. And if we are going deep down into object oriented programming, there are the several properties or the methodologies are available. The first methodology which makes it very unique, that is inheritance. Okay. And the second property is polymorphism, third property is encapsulation, and fourth property is abstraction. We will learn one by one. In today's session, our main agenda is to complete the inheritance and the polymorphism. So let's discuss the inheritance. Okay. Inheritance is the term we also use in biology, which means we can inherit the genes from our parents. Means some characters, if my father's hair is blonde, my hair also should be blonde. If I carried that thing, I will inherit that property from my father's to me. Okay. The genes will inherit that property from my father's to me. Same thing will be happen here. So in object oriented programming language, if one class inherit the property of the other class, we will say that the inheritance will occur, and that will be the beauty of the object oriented programming language. Okay, so let's read the discussion. Ever heard of this dialogue that the relatives say you look exactly like your father or like your mother? The reason behind that is called inheritance. As I say, that's it's also a biological term. From same in programming language, except it's general as inheriting the transfer the characteristic from the parents class to the child class. For example, there is a one class known as the parent class, and there is a one class known as the child class. If I if parent I've defined the parent class and the child class, I can inherit or use all the characteristic and the property of the parents class in our child class. I hope you will get the point. Let's read the discussion. Inherit or the transfer the characteristic from the parents to child class without any modification. The new class is called the derived class or child class, and that one which formed its derived class from called the parents or the base class. Here is the table. Let's zoom out it so we can get the better understanding what's written here. That for example, there is a class B. Okay, that's the child of the class A. Okay, in class A, for example, there is a class A known as the father class. Okay, in father class there is a property known as the land that will show that how much land father have. For example, in that property it will be written that father have 100 acres of land. Okay, then I will go to the B. In class B, I will also show you syntax later. First, let's get deep dive into the definition and explanation. So here in class B, I also defined the another characteristic that will show the money that class B or the class child have 10 lakh or 1 million in his bank account. Okay. If I am going to class B, and then I will take the attribute land and define that class B object class B land, then it will be show me the land that how much father have, which means it will be using the attributes that father have or the properties that father have. So there are the different type of inheritance. First is the single inheritance, where we can say there is one child and one parent child. In multi-level inheritance, we can say there is a one child, one parent child, one there is child, one then there is a grandchild. Hierarchical inheritance have the, you can say the sibling trees, as a binary tree we can say that class B, class C, whose parents are single, parent class are same. Or we can say the multiple inheritance, where we can say that the child class have the properties of two parent class. Okay, let's read the definition here. Single level inheritance enable the derived class to inherit the characteristic from the single parent class. Example, we just say that that there is an employee, and the employee's name, age, salary we will decide here. In child class, we will define the employee one, which we can call from the parent child. For example, the parent class is employee one. We will declare the employee one as a parent class here. Okay, then we will call all the things name, age, salary. Then if we call that thing from the parent class, it will be decide here. The output is 22 because the 22 come from the parent class. Okay, now see the multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance enable the derived class to inherit the property from the uh, immediate parent class, which turn the inherit properties from his parents to class. Here the thing is that there is a parent class, there is a child class, there is a grandchild class. Grandchild class can inherit the properties of child class also and the parent class also. So that thing was here. Here is the example. You can read the example here. There is a class, there is a child employee, and there is a child to employee, which is the grandchild, or the, you can say the second child, or the hierarchical. We can call the properties of both. If the child one employee have the 22, we can say, and the child 2 have the 23, we can call the both employee 1, employee 2 means this one and this one, both of them. Okay, and there is a third type of the inheritance. We can show that the hierarchical inheritance, known as a sorry, known as the inheritance that enable the, or we can say the sibling classes. Okay, hierarchical level inheritance enable the more than one derived class to inherit the properties of the parent class. Yes, that example for that thing also. For the multiple inheritance, we can say that there is a one single child and he can inherit the properties of the two parent classes. Okay. Oh, sorry, one single child class and he can inherit the properties of the two parent classes. The multi-level inheritance enable the one derived class to inherit the properties of more than one base class or one parent class. Okay, here is also example. Now let's just discuss the polymorphism. Polymorphism, what's the polymorphism? Here again the biological term come, where we can say that the you can say frog have the polymorphic ability to live in land also and live in water also, which means he have two factors and the two properties at the same time. Okay, or you can say that I am also a example of the polymorphism. For my college I am a student, for my colleagues I am their batchmates, for my juniors I am their boss. Okay, and for my parents I am their child, for my sister I am their brother. So at same time I will play the different roles. So that thing will become that I have play the different properties at the same time. That's the example of the polymorphism. Let's read the definition here. You will all must have used the GPS for the navigating the route. Isn't it amazing how many different route you can across for the same destination depending on the traffic? Means we have to look go for the same location where there are the different route, and you will choose by the help where the traffic is less. That's isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's amazing. That's the example of the polymorphism. So from the that thing, if we in programming point of view, that is called the polymorphism. It is such a one methodology which will, or the you can say the properties which will be used in the object oriented programming, where the one task can be performed by the several different ways. Okay, to put it in the simple word, it is the property of the object which allow to taking the multiple forms here. Again, the example is that operating system is a one single function, but here is the different forms. Microsoft Windows in another is also an example. Mac OS is also an example. Ubuntu Linux is also an example. Kali Linux is also an example. Okay, so that thing is some. There are two types of the polymorphism. First is compile time polymorphism and second thing is the runtime polymorphism. Let's see what that thing is. The compile-time polymorphism is also called the static polymorphism, which get resolved during the compilation time of the program. One can example the method overloading. This method overloading is come in the compile-time polymorphism. If it will be come in the different form when we compile the whole program. Okay, so that will become when the at the compile time we say the static polymorphism which get resolved at the time of the compilation. After when we do the compilation, the different form of that simple thing will come, or we can use by the help of different approaches. Here is the example also. Class employee, we will define the constructor, then we will print the Harshit his name, his salary is 3000, his age is 22. We will define the another class here, that Rahul is his name, 4000 is salary, 22 is here. Then we will use the method overloading, where we can use the same thing but by the different approaches. Okay, that like object name, object salary, object age. Okay, we will define that thing, but that thing is available in there here also. Class 1 and class 2 in both, available in both. Then we will call that thing. Okay, and we will call the function for that thing. You can see the result here. Harshit is his name, Harshit is 3000 is his salary, 22 is his, Rahul is his name, 40,000 is his salary, and 23 is his age. All the thing will become print by the help of that polymorphism factor. Okay, the second thing is runtime polymorphism, is also called the dynamic polymorphism. We can do the polymorphism at the same time after running doing the code. A simple example of the runtime polymorphism is you can say that overriding of the method. Okay, yeah, here also it will be written that the runtime polymorphism is also called the dynamic polymorphism, where it is get resolved in the runtime. One common example of the runtime polymorphism is called the method overriding. Let's read the example also. Here we can define the class employee, then we will define its functions, then in functions we will define name, age, salary, id, and then how much he earned. We do the same thing here in the runtime. Okay, did you get it what I said, that we can do that same thing in the runtime. Same thing we will do in the second class, and then we will print it. The output is has no money, has no money, has money. Means here he have no money, employee one have no money. We are do the polymorphism here. employee to have has money. We can do that thing at the dynamically by the help of method overriding. We can write the method here. Okay, so that's all about the today's session. We will go for the another methodologies like abstractions and all other thing in the different class. I hope you will get the things. We don't use the ID because the time is very limited. We have to complete the session in the 20 to 25 minutes, because if we do the things in ID, if you code, then the session will become the large, about 40 to 45 or 1 hour session. So that's how we will do. In future classes, we will also do the coding. I hope you will get the point. Thank you.